All right, joining us with more on the Ukraine-Russia conflict is Mr. Ravi Joshi. Mr. Joshi is a visiting fellow at the Observer Research Foundation. It's a privately held think tank headquartered in New Delhi. Mr. Joshi, welcome to DD India News Hour. Now,
Thank
for
you,
the
Ramesh.
first time in the last 3 odd years, Mr. Joshi, is the Ukraine-Russia conflict spilling over into NATO territory?
Yes, actually, the developments since September 10th and September 12th indicate a definite escalation of the Russia-Ukraine war into Poland and partly in Romania. Let me start with Poland. Actually, about 19 drones, Russian drones, entered into Polish territory and carried out some random attacks. Okay, and they were, of course, they were immediately pushed out, and 4 of them were shot down by jet fighters, two F-16s from Poland and one F-35 from Dutch, and one Eurojet fighter from Germany got into action and shot down 4 of them, and rest were pushed out. So the damage to Poland was not much, but this is a definite sign of escalation. And that means now, Poland has every right to activate Article 4 and 5 of the NATO Charter, which means that under Article 4, a member country can call for consultations with all the other members, saying that its political independence, security, and territorial integrity has been violated by an enemy country. Now, once this consultation starts, this will also kick into action Article 5, which says that there should be collective defense of a member. That if any member of the NATO is attacked, it is considered as an attack on entire NATO. So now Article 5 will kick into action. But that has not happened so far. See, President Donald Tusk of Poland has already notified the NATO Security Council that some kind of a territorial violation has taken place. Now, the most important person in the entire drama is President Trump. Though NATO has got about 35 countries, it is US which matters most, and it's President Trump who is the single most important player. And he has already said that this is probably a mistaken entry, and he has downplayed the entire thing, which has sent shockwaves to Poland. Now, that is an indication of Trump not actively issuing any instructions to NATO to join the attack or join the war, or and also saying that he has now, before this happened, he had actually said that I'm going to impose more sanctions, tighter sanctions on Russia, and I'm asking all the European countries to stop the purchase of Russian oil and gas. So he had already said, prepared himself and Europe, and European countries had agreed to do that. Now, he is not willing to go beyond sanctions. That is what appears to be the case.
Right.
And so that I don't see the escalation actually going into a real war-like situation with NATO.
Mr. Joshi, since you refer to Romania and Poland, now Romania is the second NATO country after Poland to report Russian drone in its airspace. Now, are these airspace violations by design or by default? I mean, who do you believe? Because Russia, for one, denies its involvement.
It may deny involvement, but the facts are very clear.
Okay.
These drones have come from Russia, and what is happening is Russia is testing the waters. It is pushing the envelope and seeing how far Trump will go, or how far Trump will continue to contain Russian actions and not initiate any kinetic action against Russia. So, but this is definitely sending a danger signal to the Eastern European countries, which have always feared Russian aggression and Russian expansion. Okay, so the situation is very fragile. It is a dangerous situation, and it is definitely an escalation. Now the battlefield is escalating from Ukraine to Ukraine's neighboring countries. And on the back of this is the Russia-Belarus military exercise, which has been going on since September 12th. It is called Zapad 2025. Zapad means West. So this military exercise takes place every 4 years. It has been taking place every 4 years since 2009. Nothing very unusual about it. But and in fact, the most unusual thing actually happened in 2021 when a similar exercise had about 100,000 soldiers, and it led to the invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. So from that, the Western allies are naturally worried and are feeling that this could lead to another, this military drill could lead to an extension of the war into either Poland or Romania or one of the NATO countries. Now, the serious analysts within the NATO have said that this exercise actually is no threat. It has only got about 13,000 soldiers, and Russia cannot actually invade any other country besides Ukraine because it is so strangled in the Ukraine war that it cannot withdraw its troops from Ukraine and then deploy them elsewhere. So the serious admirals and Air Force, and military generals are not worried about this. But the public perception is that this is an escalation of Russia's aggression.
Mr. Joshi, you're using words such as fragile and escalation, which brings me to a related question, which everybody wants to know tonight as we speak. What would be the implications of the conflict spilling over into NATO territory for all the parties involved? Ukraine, Russia, the US, and the EU.
You see, Ramesh, the entire thing depends upon how President Trump reacts.
Okay.
He's the key player. And I do not see President Trump actually signaling a military reaction to Russia's extension of the aggression in the Eastern European sector. Now, I also don't feel that President Putin is now seriously contemplating any kind of a military action in countries other than Ukraine. Okay. I don't see that at all happening. Okay, because he just does not have the wherewithal and the military supplies and the military manpower to deploy in another country. So he's actually neck deep in Ukraine. So I don't see that happening. So this escalation is basically a kind of a threat, as an indication to the NATO member countries that to actually implement what you have been saying, that we will send our troops, our air force, and our naval ships to defend Ukraine, then you should be ready for Russia's reaction, military reaction. Okay, if you remember, Keir Starmer, Prime Minister of Britain, said some months ago that he is ready to deploy military troops in Ukraine, which was a very stupid remark, and he would face enormous resistance within England for such an action, and he will not be able to do it. But these are the signals that European leaders have also been sending, and France and Germany have been saying that we will deploy our air force. Okay. And you must remember that NATO itself does not have any troops on the ground. Right. NATO has enormous air power and missile power. Okay, so they can only deploy that. So it is now. I find this basically a kind of a drama that is being staged, which is not lead to any serious kinetic action in the Eastern European front.
Okay, if what you say is true, and let's accept it for a moment, the next logical question to ask would be the following, Mr. Joshi. What will it take to bring Russia to the negotiating table? Now, would more economic pressure bring Russia to the negotiating table, as some in the US are suggesting?
Yes, that is a very good question. If you remember the Alaska summit, which happened in August 15, President Trump and Putin, President Trump had actually gone with the points that Zelensky had given him. Basically, first and foremost, agree for a ceasefire. Okay, right. Then we can have we can have a peace negotiations. And President Putin outright rejected this offer of a ceasefire. And he told President Trump that I don't accept ceasefire. I will go for a direct peace negotiations.
Right.
Okay. So, which actually meant that he was trying to gain more time to gain more territory. And that's what is happening right now. Okay. And President Trump, after that unsuccessful meeting in Alaska, went back to White House, then called Zelensky to White House, and Zelensky went along with the Prime Minister Keir Starmer of Britain, and Macron of France, and German Chancellor. All these three people went along with Zelensky to plead with Trump that we must now come to Ukraine's defense. So, but President Trump did not agree to that. President Trump said that I'll bring both Putin and Zelensky to the negotiating table,
Right.
and I'll myself mediate. There will be tripartite negotiations to bring Russia and Ukraine to the peace table, and that has not happened. What is important is to see that President Trump is repeatedly failing in his attempts to persuade Putin, and Putin is actually giving him a long rope, and he's not even making any promises that he will stop the war. And the war is continuing every day. And now the new target is Pokrovsk in Donetsk region. So the war is going on there, and at least about 1,000 people are dying every day in the war.
Right.
Both sides. So this seems to be quite a stalemate, actually.
Indeed. And one quick question before we wrap up, Mr. Joshi. If, as you say, Putin is stalling, the ceasefire is not happening anytime soon, in such circumstance, how should New Delhi navigate the pulls and pressures that come with these relationships? Should it stay the course or change tack?
Well, New Delhi is already under enormous pressure because of the secondary sanctions President Trump has imposed on India purchasing the Russian discounted oil.
Right.
Okay. We are now facing 50% tariff. And President Trump directly said that this tariff I'm imposing on India to squeeze Russia, basically. Okay. And whether it has squeezed Russia is a debatable point. I don't see that has happened. But India certainly is being squeezed. More interestingly, in this Zapad exercise, which is going on right now in Belarus and Russia and Belarus, India is also a participant. Most people don't know this. India, Iran, and Tajikistan, and some more countries Bangladesh are participants in this Zapad 25 exercise. India has only sent 65 military personnel, a very small contingent, and there are also about 12 observer countries. Okay, so India is already committed quite deeply into the Russian engagement in Ukraine and Russia's engagement even in the Zapad exercise. So India is in a very difficult situation, and I don't see India stopping the purchase of Russian oil. But there is some kind of indication that trade negotiations are again starting between US and India.
Right.
And how that will pan out is to be seen. I really do not know whether Prime Minister Modi will agree to stop the purchase of Russian oil, or will he yield to the pressure from US to open up our agriculture, our dairy sector. All these things are at stake. So it's a very difficult line that we are
Indeed,
right
damned
now.
if you do, damned if you don't. It's a very tricky situation that New Delhi finds itself in. All right, on that note, Mr. Joshi, thank you for joining us and sharing your perspectives with our viewers in India and around the world. Thank you for your time. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Ramesh.